you've got, if you look at the structure of the paper plate, you've got a central piece here, you've got a ridge, and then you've got a number of strengthening ridges. That's what these ridges do. They actually give, in just the same way as we made the paper structures, they give this some strength. And you cut at opposite sides. You're going to make 8 altogether. So this gives you a chance to talk about halves, quarters, eighths. Now, if the children aren't used to cutting, it doesn't matter in this instance how accurate the cutting is. Okay, so there you have it, where you've got 8 cuts being made. And already, with just a little bit of manipulation, if you put some up and some down, it starts to have a much more interesting look to it, and that looks a lot like a flower. But to make it even more like a flower, you can make cuts like this, just so that it meets to the point. Just extra cuts like that. And with that folding and bending, it starts to look even more like a flower. Now, I did try to use these pieces that had been cut out, but it's quite fiddly to use them and glue them, and I didn't think that was really worth the effort. So now you've got something where point up, point down, like that, and with a little bit of colour added to that, it does start to look a lot like flower. Push some forward or nip some together in the way that petals do. Now, those botanists among you will probably know that there are 8 petals on this flower. Well, quite a lot of flowers are based around 5, but that's perhaps something that you could do. Well, I think that looks very much like a flower. But to try and get the anatomical correctness for this flower, what you can see I've done is I've put a green part with a swirl of yellow, and on the back there's some green, as there would be in an ordinary flower. And you need to have something in the middle of that. Now, you could just take a straw and glue that on the back, and that. It's very quick and simple flower. Put some PVA on and leave it to dry. It's important when you're making a display that you do have something that you can attach it to, perhaps the vines that were made so far. But to make it look even more like a flower, then you would give it a central part. This is just a cake case, and you put that in the middle, and it looks more like a 3-dimensional flower. Quite like that. But with a little bit of extra, and a small amount of extra decoration, kind of, you fold it like this, with just a few stripes in that centre, it starts to draw the eye towards it a little bit more, like this. Remember, this is a beanstalk, so I don't think anybody's going to try and say that we're not actually doing an anatomically correct botanical flower. And again, you could just attach a straw to the back of that. But I'm going to show you something that makes this look even more like a real flower. You have the paper plate. You've attached the cake case in the middle. And what you do is, and this is about using tools, a very large part of the national curriculum about use and selection of correct tools. Well, this is the centre of some wrapping paper. And what you do is you place the flower roughly in the middle. You take a pencil and you pierce right through the cake case, like that. That way there's nobody going to get their fingers caught. And you could simply insert a single straw like that, a little drop of PVA, leave it to dry, and that becomes quite a good flower. I quite like that. But what you can do to make it even look to make it look even more like a flower is you cut down the length of the flower of this straw. It's a bendy straw. There is a well-known manufacturer of quite a number of different kinds of burgers, and they have excellent straws. These don't come from it, by the way, because in the middle of a flower you have stamens and anthers and filaments, and you run it across with the scissors like that. Splay it out, the bits that the pollen's attached to. Okay, you put that through that hole, pull it through, spread those out, and then you put some PVA on the back of there and run it along there, and you just leave it to stand, and it will set. And you've got quite a lot of the details of a flower. So rather than just a paper plate and a cake case, you've now got a fairly accurate anatomical representation of a flower. But you can take that one step further, and this time you use 3 straws. 3 straws, and what you do is, I don't know if you can see that, but you've attached 2 at about the same length, but 1 is about 2 inches further along the stem, and you just wrap some sellotape about that. So you have those 2 that can splay down like that. You take that, you push that middle straw through the hole so that it comes through, and if you look, you can see that you've got a very strong attachment now where you can place some PVA. I'll show you that in just a moment, but again, you've got that comes through in the middle. You cut down the length of it 2 or 3 times, and the fact that it's a coloured straw makes it all the more interesting. Splay that out. And here is how you attach it. You use your PVA, and you put a drop of PVA on there, and you just twist it round, and you can leave that to stand, and that will set. Okay.